Hello, everybody. My name is Bruce Montgomery, and this is my colleague, Tracy Priest.
Hello, everybody.
And we're with The Road to Retail. On our podcast, Tracy and I hope to offer tips, insights, ideas, and examples for how small, emerging, and challenger CPG, consumer packaged goods, brands can build their business. Everything from determining if you're ready to grow, where to start, how to prove it online, how to go about securing distribution at a national retailer, driving your business with the end consumer, and how to go about finding an investor if that's important to you. The bottom line is, we would love to help you be successful by highlighting the many important factors that go into establishing and growing your brand.
Bruce and I have been working in CPG commercial operations for over 30 years, working on brands of all sizes. By commercial operations, we mean sales, marketing, trade marketing, new product development, broker and distributor management, new product development, brand M&A, and financing. As a part of our show, we bring our guests that are brand founders and leaders, agencies, Amazon specialists, sales agents, contract manufacturers, retailers, and investors to discuss their experiences and share their insights with the audience.
To keep up with the show, please subscribe to the Road to Retail podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Leave us a review and consider sharing the show with a friend or colleague that may benefit from the content. You can also check out our website to learn more at www.road2retail.com and follow The Road to Retail on LinkedIn. We would love to have you along for the ride. Looking to scale or launch your supplement or skincare brand? Eagle Labs Incorporated, based in Florida, offers full-service NSF-certified contract manufacturing of capsules, tablets, powders, liquids, gummies, and lotions. All of their manufacturing takes place in the USA. From R&D and formulation to packaging and fulfillment, Eagle Labs provides scalable, high-quality production that meets FDA and NSF standards. To learn more, contact Michael Law, Chief Commercial Officer at Eagle Labs at michael.law@eaglelabsinc.com, EAGLELABSINC, Michael Law, eaglelabs.com, or text him at 203-242-6417.
Let's do this. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the most recent episode of Road to Retail, where we talk to friends and colleagues within the consumer packaged goods industry. So, Bruce, welcome this morning. Good to see you.
Hello, Tracy. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic. Excited for today's episode. So
we have a new killer guest on. I'd like to introduce Todd Matherly. Todd is EVP at Market Performance Group and an old friend of the show. So Todd, welcome to the show and thank you for your time today.
Great to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.
Great. So before we jump in here, Todd, why don't you tell the group a little bit about who you are, your background, and how you've landed in this current position, and then we'll dig into what MPG is doing for the emerging brand universe.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Bruce and Tracy. So my background is I live here in Bentonville, Arkansas. So I joined Walmart right out of college. Was a trainee, started out as a bio trainee, which was an awesome experience, as you can imagine. I spent 24 plus years at Walmart and Sam's Club. So about half the time on the Walmart side, half the time on the Sam's Club side, which obviously gave me a great, master's degree, as I say, in retail, both across Walmart when we were growing like crazy, and then getting into the club channel, which within itself is a fascinating channel. So I had the opportunity to work a lot of time in health and wellness. So the categories, consumables business, both at Walmart and Sam's Club, and then moved into the food business and spent quite a bit of time in the food business at Sam's Club. So growing up inside the merchant organization at a company like Walmart, of course, incredible career, lots of opportunities, and really blessed to work across some really cool businesses that then transformed to kind of my life after Walmart, which I joined MPG about 7.5 years ago, living here in Bentonville, running the Walmart team and helping many clients and staying engaged in the business. And now I'm leading a new part of our business, really to sell more of our end-to-end capabilities that we are really positioned well to help clients. And we'll talk more about that today.
Awesome. Great.
Man, you were at the high cotton days when Walmart was just on fire.
We had a lot of fun. We joked about it yesterday. We were talking about a story and with a client that was in town that I've known forever, and sometimes we call it the just ship it days, right? You remember those days, Bruce? We worked together, but man, how high is up? We loved picking an item, getting behind it, getting the stores behind it or the clubs behind it, and really exploding items. And that's kind of cool. It translates well to what I'm doing today, where you put that merchant hat on and you think like a customer. And usually when you start thinking like a customer, you end up in a pretty good spot. And so it's fun how that has translated into this side of the business, helping clients be successful today.
Terrific. Tracy?
Yeah, and just a side note, Todd and I worked together when he was at Sam's Club and I was a sales guy and you were a category manager. So it was those were good times, as Bruce mentioned. Good times. We had fun. But anyway, let's jump in. So for our listeners who may not be familiar with Market Performance Group, tell us a little bit about the background, how it got started, and the types of services that you and your team provide.
Yeah, so MPG was started really 24 years ago or so, really as a consulting business, advising business that really took a kind of unique approach. Our founder, Mark Greenberger, which a lot of people would know, wanted to do it a little bit differently by hiring people like us, actually, who've operated a business, run a business, to really do that advising work with our clients. And it really connected well with the client base that was looking for guidance and a true partner, quite honestly. And I think one of the cool things about MPG is we see ourselves as an extension of our clients' teams. And so therefore, we have a lot of long-term relationships based on the success of that. But over the years, we've evolved in a big way to be more than just, advising, helping clients from a strategic role to, obviously, we launched into the rep group. So we started a Walmart team years ago, had Target, launched into the drug channel, into the dollar channel. And now fast forward, today we have pretty much national coverage across the major retail channels, from club to mass to food to grocery, which has been our fastest growing team. Certainly really have a great team focused on Amazon, so the digital part of the world, and really have expanded our capabilities now into kind of a one-stop shop, as we call it, in this end-to-end conversation that we'll talk more about today, where we can be a solution for pretty much any size client, from strategy to really execution at retail, execution on the digital side, including full funnel marketing now. Obviously, TikTok Shop is in there, direct to consumer, and all backed by our awesome analytics team that uses data to really help our clients and really determine where their success is for growth, right? And that's really what we're in the business to do, is help our clients grow. So really, the other cool thing about us guys, I think, is we're not just advisors, like we're executors, right? We're operators, we run businesses, and we know what it takes to win. And so we come alongside our clients and help them punch above their weight class. A lot of times we hear. And so that's kind of a little bit more about us.
Oh, that's great. So Todd, you touched on this a little bit, but I think it would be helpful to explain to the folks, given the diversity of your personal career, how do you feel this helps you relate to clients? You kind of talked about how Mark and the leadership there at MPG wanted to kind of hire and build a team of what I'll call player coaches versus just people that sit around and think a lot, but have you ever called on CVS? No, I've been to one once. Okay. Thanks for playing. Bye. Talk about how your experiences really help you relate to clients. And then we're going to push into the work you guys do specifically.
Yeah, I think, my experience, and it's really similar to most of the folks on our roster at MPG. I was blessed to work across a really broad category group, from, health and beauty and cosmetics, skincare, all the way to, grocery, beverages, snacks, and candy. And so the things I got exposed to being a part of, an awesome company like Walmart and Sam's Club, and in those categories, gave me so many experiences and situational examples that now we just pull those back, right? We apply what we learned to the situation we're dealing with today. As you know, most things kind of circle back, right? And you just think like a merchant. I think that's the one thing that certainly my history, I'm a merchant at heart. So I think about a merchant in everything I do. But we also really want to understand the goals and the strategy of our clients because we're an extension of their team. And then we help them figure out how to navigate that in the right way for each retailer. Because as you guys know, it's a little bit different. And yeah, I'm a Walmart Sam's Club experienced guy. So you probably want me helping you there. But to your point, like I've never called on CVS, so I'm probably not the person, right? But we'll get Brian Granger or somebody from his team on the line, and that's who we're going to help you with the retailer like CVS. So just the ability to cut and paste that model across the different retailers that we help our clients with makes it really, really impactful to speak their language, know how to approach them in the right way. And I think that's the roster of MPG, the power of that, right? And I always joke our phone a friend capability is unbelievable because of the who we know and whatever the issue is, we have somebody on our team who's lived it, knows it, and can help you. And so we bring that all together to surround our clients in a really cool way.
Excellent.
That's great. So you kind of touched on it a little bit, but we're excited to talk to you today about the new initiative that you're leading and in regards to helping, small emerging brands. So tell us a little bit about that initiative.
Yeah, I think we've always done a pretty good job at engaging with emerging brands, smaller brands. It's certainly in our wheelhouse of small to medium brands that need help punching above their weight, I said earlier, or capabilities maybe that they don't have in-house or they don't have the ability to add some of those resources. And so we can surround them in a really cool way. And we've just evolved our capabilities by listening to our clients and hearing what their pain points are, what is causing them, either lack of growth or maybe a misunderstanding of how to grow or not getting the priorities lined up right. And so as we began to talk about where we need to get better as an organization, I think this emerging brands focus is really one, how we get our name out there more and be known as a place where brands can go for this end-to-end help, right? Anything that they need. Obviously, it's a la carte, right? We have an a la carte menu. We can customize it the way it works for you. But so really what I've become is kind of an evangelist, if you will, of those capabilities at MPG. And so I think what's unique about us is we offer, call it a modular or standard approach. And so you get the tools and the talent of our seasoned veteran team, many people like me from a retailer standpoint, but we also have the same from a supplier standpoint that we can bolt onto your team and come alongside of you without you having to build it internally. And so it becomes very efficient and you can plug into this growth engine that we have become. And so we're spending time just building relationships, exposing that to new folks and really becoming a place where those brands can come and get the right help in the right way to align to their strategies and help them grow.
That's great. So Todd, let's just dig in here a little bit more about this end-to-end solution that MPG can offer these emerging brands. As you're well aware, not only with your clients, but in the professional life you've led, leadership of an emerging brand has plenty to do. So having certain aspects of the business covered by a firm like MPG and what they can handle, talk about how that may allow the founder or leaders to focus on strategy, innovation versus day-to-day blocking and tackling.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit different depending on the founder or what they love to do. But I think, let's be honest, there is no easy button. We're all looking for the easy button in life. That it doesn't exist, but we do make it easier. And I think those are the conversation I'm having with founders or those that are investing in emerging brands is we make it easier because of our turnkey model. And we either free up the founder to go do what they love, which is building their brand, telling their story, thinking about what's next in their innovation pipeline or the evolution of their brand and their company, or we make it more efficient if they're more worried about EBITDA and making their business much more efficient and set up for whatever the next part of their journey is. We can really help them do both of those things in a really cool way because of the breadth of what we offer. And I think the other challenge that you have as an emerging brand is you got a lot of people in your ear, right? Who are telling you, hey, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. Not all of them are wrong, and you certainly should get other opinions, but it can get really overwhelming and really confusing. And I think what we're trying to do is say, hey, let's keep this simple. Let's agree to partner. Let's align on what your strategy and what your goals are. And then let us customize our solution to help you do that in the best way. And what we're finding is that's leading to efficiency. It's leading to them being able to grow much faster. And, sometimes I say it helps them stay out of the ditch, right? We keep them on the road to success and growth because we understand the road blocks or the pitfalls or the risk of not having the right supply chain partner, not having the right marketing strategy, not having the right channel strategy. I mean, we could talk the rest of the time about that, right? But also the simple things of what it takes to be successful on shelf. And so that's the part, I think, the value that we offer. And, I had a guy the other day recap it to me, said, okay, so let me get this straight. You can build our brand. You can get me into Walmart. You can manage my trade spend. You can optimize my Amazon listings, and you can launch a TikTok campaign. And I said, yeah. And he's like, wow, that sounds like a superpower. So anyway, that's the part that I think we're able to deliver. Our challenge now is communicating in a way that's understandable and comes across in the right way that hey, we're here to help you in any way we can. And when you bolt on the MPG, good things are going to happen.
That's awesome.
Sounds good. Sounds like you guys actually know how to navigate the road to retail.
We have been on the road a long time, many of us, right?
That's true.
Like you guys have. And I think, it's changing. There's no doubt it's changing. And I think that's the other thing that I think I prioritize for me is to keep my pulse on what's happening. And, I spent 4 or 5 hours yesterday just working on AI things and how I can use AI to help me better do what I just explained that we're doing for clients. And it's amazing how it can really help you when you lean in. But that's new things, right? New skills, new tools, new technology that we're trying to embrace to help ourselves become more efficient, but also teach our clients that there might be a better way to do this. And so let's utilize that together.
Yeah. I just wanted to chime in here, Todd, on a couple of things you said. One is that the menu is a la carte, which is great for small emerging brands because they may not need everything. And two is that you customize the solution because every client is different. It's not cookie cutter. And so I think that is a huge help, to small emerging brands. So I just wanted to highlight that. Yeah. And the third thing you said is, you're right. Retail is ever changing. And the fact that you're just embracing technology like AI is awesome. What you said, you got to stay on the forefront of technology and how the industry is evolving and having your pulse on it. That's perfect. Love all that. Love all that. So tell us about these capabilities and services. So obviously we've talked about small emerging brands, but do those services and the help you provide, can they translate to bigger brands as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We work with all size brands, and we're finding that our capabilities serve kind of any size of brand based on, obviously the experience, the breadth of talent, and what we cover in our, just our experience. It really can be applied to any situation. It's really based on what that client is looking for, what their pain points are, or could be a project, short-term project that we get in the door, we build a relationship, we are confident we deliver value, and then that leads to another project or an ongoing conversation. And I think for larger brands, a lot of times it will start with a project work. It's kind of the beauty of our breadth of the business units that I kind of explained earlier. They might come in through our consulting team through a short-term project. And one of the great things about our consulting business is we have this roster that I talked about earlier that can be pulled in to a project as subject matter experts. And so what happens is that client gets exposure to the wisdom of our subject matter experts that are people like me out in the retail field with lots of experience. And they're like, hey, could we have another conversation with, I mentioned Brian at CVS, or Christine's team up at Target, or Courtney's team at Dollar General. I want to talk to them again. That was impressive how they were able to help us. So it's the power of the MPG team coming together to surround a client in a project or initial conversation that then leads to more work. And we love the saying, good work leads to more good work, and relationships are built over time. And so anyway, that can happen with any size brand. I think the work and the solution we offer is just delivered in a different way. And then I think the other larger company thing that's happening is you've got either one brand within their portfolio that needs some love that we can jump in on, or even letting us take some brands that aren't the focus anymore of the larger business, and we apply this kind of end-to-end solution for that brand or that part of their business, and we can run that business for them in a way that gives it the right focus and prioritization, so to speak, while they can go work on some of their bigger things. And so we're finding that to be a really cool partnership opportunity with larger companies who have brands that we could step in and run for them.
Yeah, it's amazing how with just a little TLC, those tail brands in a large company portfolio can actually begin to move again. So that's a smart play on your guys' part.
We love that, because we have this famous saying as merchants that, how do we make old new again? And I think there's so much opportunity in the industry today to take a brand that's been on the shelf, so to speak, right? No pun intended. Not had a lot of love, not been packaged, hasn't been updated, marketing message that, wow, you just turn it on its side a little bit, shine a light on it, get it in front of the consumer in a different way. If it has a point of difference or a solution to offer to the customer, and it can take off. And that's fun.
Well, and it's amazing, there's old brands out there that with a little bit of love and some updating, people do think they're new. And it's like, no, that's been around since my grandmother, but that's cool that you think it's new. So Todd, as you become more ingrained in this emerging brand world, have you noticed any common traits or actions that you see consistently among those emerging smaller brands that send you where you say, hey, I think these guys are going to make it. They've got X, Y, and Z in their favor.
Yeah, it's a great question. A couple things I would share. I think I have to start with authenticity. It still matters. I think it's really, really important. I think the younger generation gravitates towards something that has an authentic story, and that could be either the husband wife team that created this based on something impacting their life to be a solution, and then next thing they realize they've launched a brand out of their kitchen or out of their lab or whatever, which is really cool. But I think authenticity really is something I pay attention to, because I know it's important to merchants, to buyers, right? And they can see through it when it's not. So that's cool. I think you have to, and I think that leads to you pulling on the head and the heart. I always talk about head and heart decisions as a merchant. We're moving more and more towards head decisions, which are based on data and analytics and what does the tool tell me to do, right? But when you can show up well in the data in the head part of those decisions, that's great. But when you have a story or something about your brand that hits on the heart, right, connects with the customer, those are the ones that I pay attention to, because I think they have kind of a cool story, solving a solution or something that's unique, and I think they have staying power, right? But I think the other thing we're looking for is brands that are really good at telling their story. There's a lot of noise out there. I think that's something that really, I think, catches my eye. And I'll just talk about how I've evolved in this space. When I was a merchant for many years, I would go meet with a brand or a company. I would get their sample. I would bring it back to my desk, and I would set it on my desk in my office. And I wouldn't say anything. I'd just leave it sitting there. And in about 24 or 48 hours, you would have a pretty good feel of like, this is something you should spend some more time on, or nobody's even said a word about it, right? Well, in today's world, if you apply that, when I meet a brand, I do two or three things. First thing I do, I go to Amazon, see if they're on Amazon and where are they ranked. What's their Amazon ranking, right? Number two is I follow them on social media. Just follow, do a little research maybe, but just follow them and then lay my phone down. And then over the next week, I just feel, how do they interact with me as a brand? Mm-hmm. And it's amazing what you can learn in just a week of, after following a brand, talking about them a little bit, how your phone then educates you on how well they're kind of selling themselves in the industry. And it's a really cool way that, you know, that's an evolution of how you think about brands and items, right? And so we're doing that every day. And then we're using data to help us understand how's a brand doing, how much are they growing. But I think the other more practical thing to answer is, do they understand packaging? Do they understand supply chain? Are they positioned well there? Are they open to listen about how we can help them get set up for success? I think those are the more practical, tactical things that are in our list of questions that we're talking to people about. But I think we're laser focused on identifying them, kind of a funnel of the key questions we need to ask, and then we want to build a relationship with them, right? Because it takes time to convince them that we're the right partner. And I think that's where I'm spending a lot of my time today.
So, folks, to recap a few of the things Todd said that you've heard on other episodes and that Tracy and I talk about a lot. First off, authenticity. Kind of a synonym for that could be differentiation. You can't just be the 19th XYZ product in a set, because when Todd was a merchant, he would wonder how you were going to grow his category, or were you just overcomplicating his life to manage yet another vendor? Another comment here, folks, about the importance of packaging. We've heard that on several recent episodes, that your packaging can't look like it was done in the kitchen as part of a middle school science project. It has to look professional and be eye-catching. An old saying back when I was a young gun in the marketing department was, packaging is your 24/7 salesperson. So it has to grab you and stop you when you're on the shelf or scrolling through the endless shelf digitally. And then lastly, the importance of some of the less sexy stuff: supply chain, case packs, UPC codes that are real and ready and properly registered, all these little things. And then lastly, the willingness to listen to experienced people like those at MPG or some of the other firms out there, from guys like Todd that have been doing this for 30 years. If you think you know it all, there's a small chance you're lucky and you do, but I would probably bet against you that you don't. And a lot of these categories, as we've talked, only review products once a year. So if you fumble that ball, they don't care if you're ready now. You missed it, and they'll see you next August. So yeah, that was great, Todd. Tracy?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, go ahead, Todd. Sorry.
No, I think the last thing I would say maybe is, find a partner that's going to speak truth to you. We talk all the time about, we want to be honest about what it's going to take to be successful. A lot of folks can guarantee or promise you a meeting. We want to get you ready for that meeting so you walk away with the right answer, right? And so I think finding a partner that, like you said, has the experience and not afraid to kind of speak the truth and just be real, right? I think that's what we're looking to do, because we know it will lead to a better outcome.
That's awesome. I love it. So Todd, tell us, what is your best advice you'd give a Amazon only or DTC brand thinking about getting into retail and trying to navigate that brick and mortar waters? So what would you tell them? And tell us a little about what you think from your perspective. They've got to get it right if they're going to be successful transitioning into brick and mortar.
I think it's something I'm spending a lot of time on, and trying to figure out how to simplify that answer is somewhat tough. I think the way I would say it in a Matherly way sometimes is, you got to figure out where to go, when to go, and what you're going to go there with. And that has, and maybe you start with that last one to say you've got to think about your pack size, your price point, that what are you doing today in Amazon and direct to consumer, and does that directly translate well to your next step into brick and mortar, or are you going to have to tweak it a bit, downsize it, offer it in a different way? Certainly, Bruce, what you talked about, think about your packaging ready for a physical shelf versus the way you focused on a digital shelf, and realize that we used to say 3 feet 3 seconds mentality with your package, that's about how long you have in an aisle to get somebody's attention, and a little bit different than watching a video on Instagram or a post, or reading content on Amazon. So thinking about those physical shelf differences versus digital shelf is fundamental. And Bruce, you said not the sexy part, but wow, it's step one, right? You've got to realize you're about to enter a different world, and you've got to think about those things as you bring along the rest of the cool part of your story and the success and the way you've been selling it, because we know digital selling and video selling is incredible right now, and the way people love to see things. I think the practical EDI setup, having a solution to ship supply chain, some of those fundamental things are the most important, but the least thought about. So those things obviously are very important. And then I think the other thing that's hard sometimes to get one of the a DTC or Amazon native brand to think about is how to think more like a category mindset instead of an item mindset, right? And so you have to realize as you're going in to meet with a buyer what they're thinking about, which is their entire category, versus when you're putting an item up on Amazon or launching it in DTC, it's more just your brand, your item, and nothing else matters, so to speak, right? And so that is where we spend some time getting our emerging brands or digital native brands to kind of understand what the mindset of the brick and mortar merchant is versus the way they've lived in the past. And so then that opens up the door for some of these other conversations we have to have about how you need to think differently, how the message needs to be tweaked, category, start with category, what's going on with the customer, and then get down to how your brand solves a problem. And then I think the last thing maybe I haven't talked about, or we haven't really talked about yet, is knowing who your customer is.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many great data points that you get by being an Amazon or digital native brand. So how do you take that learning and those key points about who your customer is that's buying your brand today and package that in your story to be the reason why a brick and mortar retailer needs more of those customers, the solution that you're offering, or whatever it is that you're trying to do in your, Bruce, you used the word differentiation earlier, and that's spot on. So anyway, I think that's a key piece that is becoming more and more important to utilize. Once again, back to that head decision as a merchant, you've got to tell me who your shopper is and why I need to add it in my assortment. And those that do that are coming out ahead.
So Todd, one question here. When we speak with small emerging brands, Tracy always does a good job pushing them on this. So I'm going to beat him to his own question. Sorry, Trace.
All right.
What's your reco to these DTC brands thinking of crossing the Rubicon into brick and mortar when it comes to e-com only SKUs, if that's reasonable? Some brands and categories, it's just not logical because of how the product is made or packaged. But the answer could be it depends. But do you say, look, one way to prevent the head-to-head comparison between XYZ brick and mortar retailer and Amazon or your website is offer a different size? Is that overcomplicating things, or is that actually kind of smart?
No, I think it does depend. I think in all these decisions, it depends on the category. It depends on maybe the price point, from a entry level versus high price point, premium price point, et cetera. But I do think the fact that you have a conversation and you think about it is the key part. You may not come up with the initial solution off the top of it, but you've got to realize and recognize that it's got to be a part of the conversation. You can't ignore that you have something on Amazon or DTC when you go into a brick and mortar conversation and not talk about it. I think transparency usually wins, right? So, we advise a lot. Hey, take the idea to the retailer, maybe 70 or 80% baked. Let them help you finish it, because then they're a part of the solution in designing, or deciding what you're going to do there. But I think it's the same kind of conversation that we could talk the rest of the day about in thinking about your FDM strategy or size versus club. It's the same kind of battle, and sometimes it's very similar because your Amazon size may be your club size, and then your FDM size is a little smaller. But you just have to kind of lay out the pros and cons and the matrix of decisions, and really start with a customer. It's really a customer decision tree type mindset that leads you to where you should be, right? And then you have to understand, based on the retailer, who you're competing against and or their price points that matter. And some retailers over $30 is not good. Others, they don't care. Bring it, right? So there are key price points that you also have to consider. But it is probably one of the cloudiest things to answer off the cuff. You really got to dig into it and think about the pros and cons of what you're doing today and how that translates. But I will say this, that the easiest way to manage it is have more consistency versus less. Like the simpler you can keep it, the less pain you will have in the future.
So a couple of things, folks. A Matherly acronym alert for those of you that haven't done this much. FDM is food, drug, mass. So that's just the channels. And another thing Todd just said, which Tracy and I have talked about with other guests and on other episodes, is not all brands belong everywhere. Okay. So if you're a high-end skincare product, going to the dollar channel is probably not a good use of your time. If you have a super regional strength in New England, going for distribution in Arizona might not be the best place to go next. And people get excited and say, boy, but that buyer, they agreed to give me a meeting. Newsflash, buyers are paid to have meetings. So just because you get one doesn't mean they automatically are in love with you. All right, Todd. So you're a veteran of the industry. What's the most exciting thing you've learned over these past few months, given your new focus on emerging brands? What makes you go, dang, didn't know that, and I've been doing this a long time?
Yeah, I think let's call it the boldness of founders today. It's contagious. It's contagious.
Right.
It's contagious in a couple of ways. It also can be scary, right? But I think
or fatal.
So they're causing me to think differently, but I think they also are pushing me and us as a company to think a little bit differently. And I think when you can align that in the right way, to think about what's possible, to guide them in the right way, to keep them out of the ditch, as I said, or keep them headed towards success. That to me is what's really exciting, is when you partner that story, that boldness, that growth that they have with someone like us who can really help them fine tune all the details and then align on where to go to do it. That's pretty cool. And I think that's what's kind of energized me. I've always been excited about working with smaller brands because they're more nimble. They can react quicker usually, right? So it's fun to work with brands who can move quickly. And I think that's, spending more time there has been fun.
Well, we've had, I believe, I'm 99.9% sure of this. I believe that Cheers is an MPG client, and Brooks was on our show. And man, you talk about a founder with juice and energy and just positively relentless. He's the guy.
Yeah.
I feel sorry if Todd Matherly has to tell Brooks that that's not possible, because I think he's probably going to say all gas, no brakes.
Yeah.
And he'll figure it out when he gets there. The bridge will be there when I get there.
Yeah, we have some good debates, but I think that's the power of the relationship, right? And that's so we value those debates with our clients because I think it's what makes us both better.
Yep. Tracy?
Yeah, I think it's called passion. And Brooks is one of the most passionate guys I've ever had the privilege of meeting. So as we're as Bruce says, rounding third and heading home, Todd, talk to us about who's had the biggest influence on your career and what they did that's stuck with you all these years.
Yeah, I think there's two things I would say, or two people. One is my dad. He we had a family business growing up, and he taught me how to work hard, and I think he also taught me how, treat people like you want to be treated. And I think I saw it benefit him very well in the Matherly concrete business. But then I think I've always tried to live by that, and it's played out well in my career. And then I think secondly, I would say in my Walmart days, you guys know Doug Dane, and Doug was great at so many things. But I think the one thing that I took away from Doug was don't be afraid to keep things simple. And I think I try every day to figure out how to keep things simple in the way I talk, the way I operate, and the way I communicate with people. It's not always easy to do, but I think I in this space we're talking about, if we can find a way to help simplify our message and simplify what it takes to be successful in the right way, doesn't mean it's easy, but keep it simple. I think that helps us win, and I think it helps our clients win. And so those are two things I think about all the time.
Well, and that's great, because we've all sat through way too many meetings where someone presented some very elegant 80-page strategy deck where the first page should have said, if absolutely everything goes perfectly and our competitors do nothing, this may happen. And
Yeah.
and the veterans like start pouring bourbon into their coffee
Yeah.
because they're like, oh brother, here we go.
Well, you may remember these days, Bruce, but back when I was a buyer, I would tell suppliers, you can come present anything you want to me, but when you walk out of the room, I'm keeping 5 slides, 5 pages. So I'll give you front and back. That's 10. But when you leave the room, I want you to give me 5 pages, because when you give me a 40-page deck, you don't want me to pick the important 5 slides, do you? I want you to tell me what the most important 5 slides of that 40-page deck. And it really resonated, I think, and taught them that, hey, we can tell him whatever, but let's leave those 5 things that I want to make sure he walks away knowing that's what is most important. And, I think it's a good rule of thumb.
All right, folks. So Todd just hit another road to retail commandment. 15 pages should be the length of your deck, and that includes hello and goodbye. Now, if you have all kinds of studies, etc., you can have an 800-page appendix, but Todd's probably going to throw it out. But if he's a guy who wants to see the proof, but the core of the deck, remember, folks, it's a discussion, not a lecture, and Todd and his colleagues know how to read. Don't read them the deck. All right, Todd, possibly the most important question of the day here. Who is your favorite sports team, brand, or band, and why do you support them?
Man, I could go a lot of different ways, but I think I will go with Mizzou. So I went to the University of Missouri in Columbia, and it's kind of cool, just the journey they've been on as a school, and so I'm loyal to them. I went there, I worked there, I worked for the football team, I was a student manager. Andy Reid was our offensive line coach. I mean, incredible experiences. But it's also cool to study a school that's gone through a brand change like they did. And when they went from just being the University of Missouri to now Mizzou, there's also some learning there on kind of how it applies to branding and your visibility in this world we're living in today. But yeah, I am a Mizzou guy. I have been humbled over the years for sure, because we've not always been good. But man, it also shows you that when you get the right people in place and you get some momentum around something, it can really be special. So I'm a Mizzou guy. I even have my, you can't see it, but I've got my gold coffee cup here. So yeah, Mizzou has taught me a lot, good and bad in life, and very loyal fan.
Well, that's great. It's interesting. So Todd used a word that Tracy and I kick around a lot, and I've come to believe it. Momentum is extraordinarily powerful. Sometimes you don't even know why it starts, but positive momentum should be ridden as hard and as long as you can.
Yeah.
And man, negative momentum can be hard to break, but that has to be job one. Whether it's a discontinuation, a clinical study that doesn't come quite back in, a key person might resign your firm. But when you have negative momentum, man, it's all hands on deck. So Todd, thank you again for your time. How can people get in touch with you to learn more about MPG and your services? What's the best way?
Yeah, and obviously you can go to our website, marketperformancegroup.com. You can also, hit me up on LinkedIn. That may be the best way. You can send me a message there. Happy to spend time with anybody and talk about, how we might be able to help or just build a relationship for future opportunities.
Great. Well, thanks again for your time. All right, Tracy, the big finish.
Absolutely. Thank you, Todd. You've been great. And again, audience, thanks for joining us. Continue to follow us on iTunes, on Apple, as well as Spotify, and also on our LinkedIn page. So we post every Tuesday. So look for this episode in the near future. And also, you can check us out on our website, www.road2retail.com. Thanks, guys, for joining us today. It's been an awesome episode, and thanks to Todd.
Thanks, Todd. Good luck out there, folks.
Thank you, guys.